In the clean energy future I envision, it's one where doctors are prescribing energy efficiency upgrades for their patients to help them alleviate their health issues. These energy efficiency upgrades can then be paid for by utility rebates, local, state, and federal funding programs, and then rounding that out with health insurance companies, paying for those that have more serious health issues. In the journey toward an inclusive energy economy, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and underserved frontline communities hold the keys to both economic prosperity and climate resilient living. Today, I'll be discussing some of those economic impacts and how energy efficiency and healthy housing go hand in hand when we are talking about making that change for the future, especially for those homeowners and renters that don't have access to these resources. My name is James Metoyer. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, builders, performers, movers and shakers, and I am a Cane River Creole son of the Albertville in Louisiana. I'd like to share a little bit about why I do what I do. When I first got into the energy efficiency industry over 13 years ago, I was really trained in how to make homes more energy efficient. What became glaringly obvious to me as my knowledge grew was that by making a home more energy efficient, you also made it a healthier home. This concept really changed the way I really thought about and talked about energy efficiency to homeowners because it was really helping them understand that connection itself. Fast forward to today, I am currently the executive director of Intercity Collaborative, where we provide education and job training opportunities for BIPOC folks at the front line of climate change, helping them to understand, identify, but more importantly, pursue their contribution to a clean energy future. We do this through workforce development and contractor training, specifically for the green energy efficiency sector, public education initiatives to increase understanding of healthy homes and healthy communities, and policy advocacy training to really help folks understand these decisions that are being made at a legislative level. How does that impact their built environment and the places where they stay? Helping people understand the connection between healthy homes and energy efficient is something I gravitated to. I really like to talk about indoor air quality and healthy homes and building science. So let's get to it. Building science studies the interactions of people, components, systems, and the physical phenomena affecting a building. When we understand the physical behavior as a building, we gain a deeper knowledge in the impacts that really talk about energy efficiency, durability, comfort, and indoor air quality. At its most basic form, a home is a box, 4 walls, a top, and a bottom. As we can see in this photo here where it shows blue arrows where cold air is coming in the house in the wintertime, that air gets inside the home, mixes with the air we've paid to heat, and it's going to want to leave out through the top, represented by the red arrows. These are going to be those areas where your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing penetrations are most likely in your home. If you add those areas up, it's like leaving a window open 24/7 in your home. How do you expect to keep the home warm in the middle of winter when you have a window open 24/7? These are also areas where water intrusion, bugs, pests, cold or hot air can enter the home. You start to see the health aspects coming into play when you're talking about making an important decision to air seal your home. So our journey towards sustainability starts right at home by engaging homeowners on climate-friendly upgrades. Upgrades not only reduce energy bills, but they increase the health of the occupants within that building. At Intercity Collaborative, our aim is to increase the homeowner's knowledge on making their home healthier. So we just saw in that last photo the aspect of a home being very leaky. So let's look at temperature. If there's a home that has been air sealed and then a home that has not been air sealed, in order to keep it at a constant 75 degrees in that home, that homeowner is going to have to pay almost 5 to 10 times more to keep it at that temperature versus a home that has been air sealed. But there's a risk with that. We've now air sealed a home. That also runs the risk of looking at maybe now what is actually in the air. If we have gas appliances like furnaces and water heaters in that home, are we trapping carbon monoxide in a home? If our gas stoves aren't being vented properly, are we increasing nitrogen oxide levels inside that home? Are we increasing where more humidity is now standing inside that building? We want to make sure those are getting out and we're actually adding ventilation to those buildings as well. So once we're working with homeowners and helping them understand this aspect, they're ready to go. They want to do this work. But a lot of the times what we're finding is that there's a lot of deferred maintenance on these homes. these homeowners from these communities have limited resources to actually tap into the clean energy economy. So one of the issues that we'll come up with is if there's a roof that has structural issues, has reached its life expectancy, and water is coming in, we're not installing solar panels on that roof. That's almost like a $20,000 project. Folks don't have access to that type of money. What about electrical panels? So if we're transitioning from gas appliances like water heaters and furnaces to more efficient technologies like heat pump technology, then we need to have room in these electrical panels. What we're seeing is there's older electrical panels with no room on the panel for these new circuits. They even sometimes have knob and tube wiring, which actually hinders us from even insulating other parts of that home. And then there's also moisture issues in the home that can be exacerbated that need to be addressed before any of this work can be done. So we like to help homeowners understand what is that prioritization of recommendations. Anything that's health and safety goes right to the top. You have a gas leak, we need to take care of that. We have moisture issues, let's take care of that first. The things after that are going to be things like return on investment. So insulation and air sealing usually come after that because they pay for themselves in about 3 to 5 years, whereas solar panels and windows come a little bit later because they can take maybe 15 plus years to pay for themselves. So I've spoken about deferred maintenance in the home if you own it, but what happens if you're in the frontline communities and you're renting? Well, one of the ways I've helped to advocate for renters to tap into the clean energy economy is by serving on the Interagency Healthy Homes Task Force for the state of Oregon. This task force, part of its goal was to identify barriers and solutions in the deployment and success of programs to improve the health and safety of homes for renters. This work aided in informing the Build Shift Collective and the Portland Bureau of Planning and Sustainability on improving rental apartments to ensure that low income and communities of color benefit from climate action. And with the input from the community, the HEART standards were created. So some examples could be under health. We're completely removing your gas stove. We're putting in an electric induction stove. If anybody's lived in an apartment, sometimes you've had that kitchen fan and it just recirculates the smoke and the moisture back in the building. How about we actually get that to where it exhausts that air to the exterior of the building? Under anti-displacement, it's just that, making sure people aren't displaced when these energy efficiency upgrades are made on these homes. And resilience, it could be making sure that these communities are not so susceptible to power outages, especially when people might need their medicine refrigerated. We talked about homeowners getting this work done, and maybe even on multifamily buildings, the folks that are going to do this work are going to be contractors. At Intercity Collaborative, we are helping minority contractors tap into their clean energy future. I am proud of these photos as they represent a class of 100% minority contractors who will all be offering energy efficiency services to the communities they serve. We like to offer solutions, and that solution for contractors is a roadmap, helping them understand the opportunities in the energy efficiency space, but also what does it take them to get from where they're at to where they want to be. If you're starting off as a sider, taking that next step to be an insulator and adding more services onto that. Also helping them understand that there are funding mechanisms out there at a local, state, and funding level to help them get training, to help them buy equipment, and to get more services to pay for their employees to do the same thing as well. Regarding training, we specifically honed in on building science principles and looking at the house as a system versus an ad hoc approach. We really want folks to have that understanding in building science principles because, as I mentioned earlier, that risk of making a home more airtight, we're humans, we need to breathe fresh air. So how is that ventilation and fresh air getting into that building? If you're not doing that right, you're causing problems for that homeowner and potentially for that building. Another piece of training that we've really focused on is the energy auditing piece. We want folks to understand how to go into a home, audit a home, and really come up with those recommendations to really help that homeowner make the most informed decision they can. And that's really understanding how energy is used in that home and coming up with that list of recommendations. I've mentioned minority contractors, but we also want to work with white-led organizations. And so we want to work with those organizations to ensure that they have safe job site policies in place when we have new workers from the industry coming in that might be from more diverse backgrounds. Tapping into a sense of passion and meaningfulness as new workers get into this industry is key. This is what I tell contractors all the time. These folks that are coming into the industry, they just don't want a 9 to 5, collect a check and go home. They want to know that they're actually making an impact. And so helping them understand that you're helping your neighbor make their home more energy efficient. You're helping them save money on their energy bills. That way they can now spend that money on something else that they need to do. And that's very local in the neighborhood, but then you can take it a step further. You're helping your city meet their climate action goals and plans. Take it a step further than that. I'm helping our nation decrease its dependence on foreign oil. These are all different aspects you can help people tap into that meaningfulness that they want to do. We also want to work with folks, and we particularly work with pre-apprenticeship training programs that are working with folks out of these communities that have an earn while you learn model. Whereas college, you pay to learn. This is, you're actually getting paid to learn on the job site, and we want to work with those organizations. Regarding mentorship, there's some stats out there that some national studies estimate that roughly 1/3 of all skilled construction workers will be retiring in just over 4 years from now. That's an alarming stat. When you're talking about that many people retiring out of the skilled trades, when we're talking about this mentorship, instead of those folks retiring and carrying that 10, 20, 30 years of industry knowledge with them, partner them with somebody coming into the industry. Let's make sure it's being imparted to the new folks that are coming in the industry. That way it stays and can help folks, create careers and jobs and potentially be business owners, but also help them with their career progression. With our fiscal sponsor and one of our primary workforce development training partners, we created the Oregon Residential Career Hub with Earth Advantage. And Earth Advantage is a nonprofit focused on advancing an informed and humane housing market and has 4 primary focus areas: climate-friendly housing, workforce training, climate justice, and green data solutions. This hub is meant to be kind of like a bridge for contractors, for new workers to get into the industry, understand, to see career pathways, understand trainings, certifications, and credentials that they need in order to progress in their prospective industry. In essence, a gateway to a rewarding career that aligns with the growing demand for energy efficiency trained folks. It's important to note that we didn't just create this in a vacuum, that we developed and vetted these in close collaboration with industry stakeholders and partners. We wanted to really focus on those folks that are going to be working on transitioning from fossil fuels to more efficient mechanicals like heat pump technology for heating and cooling and water heaters. So we wanted to make sure we had career pathways for folks working in those trades. Then we have a lot of older homes that just don't have insulation and don't have the air sealing that they need. So we wanted to focus on those folks that are really talking about retrofitting homes, doing the insulation and air sealing. And then last but not least, the energy auditing piece, which is really helping folks understand how to make these recommendations. And they are also those folks that are kind of like that first contact with homeowners and helping them make the right decision. I mentioned path ambiguity earlier. As a barrier. Here's an example of how we've kind of laid out the different processes when it's different certifications and trainings and where they actually need to get experience in the industry. We've added more information such as pay range to help them understand what you're getting paid when you kind of get in to where you might be a little bit later in the industry. And also that role description. That's a big one as well. You might come into this industry not knowing what you want to do, but if that role description gives you a good job or a good lesson to know, like, I don't want to do that, that's also a good place as well. At least you know what you don't want to do and can look elsewhere. Also, the benefits and challenges of each respective career. Now it is time for you to make a decision to create a more equitable and sustainable future. Are you willing to take bold and decisive action? The work I'm doing has informed me that we must collectively agree that Black, Indigenous, people of color, low-income individuals, and other communities on the front lines of climate change and housing challenges deserve not just our support, but targeted and tailored solutions to navigate these crises. This action is to build partnerships. Don't reinvent the wheel. Who's already doing some of the work? Is it working with community-based organizations that are already doing climate justice and environmental justice work, that are serving the front lines of communities, especially those working with homeowners in heavily gentrified areas? What about working on pre-apprenticeship training programs and workforce development boards to help those career progressions and make sure those are laid out? Minority contractors organizations. If you saw some of the work that you need to be having done in your own home, hire a contractor that's from a minority population. Public utility commissions advocate so that those voices, when things are being legislated on at that level, that those voices are heard and those communities are heard about their built environment. Use your expertise to create targeted and tailored solutions in your area to build durable wealth by concentrating on building healthy homes, to create healthy communities and healthy economies that folks can thrive in and not just survive in. That's my time. I look forward to answering questions and finding ways to collaborate and support ECC. Thank you for listening.